Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I'm Kevin Ferguson and I've got Scott Gibbs. Scott, a bit of a sad day for me. You're leaving tomorrow, but I know you had a rant about technology on Friday and I was ranting as well when I was trying to get into the stadium with the tickets and they wouldn't load and so Ticketmaster, what a shambles. That's all I can say about them.
Well, I breezed through the security in the gate, so
you're Scott Gibbs.
Yeah.
But my point being that there is technology that allows us to do shows together continuously, so no one should panic.
Yeah, no panic, folks, no panic. Yeah, I'll leave tomorrow, and yes, it's bittersweet. I always love coming to the Republic.
Yeah.
Since my first trip back in the early 90s when I was part of a international team to celebrate NAS Porter's testimonial, and ever since then I always had this real good connection with South Africa and its people and the humor and the fun and the hospitality, which, as you know, gracious and top class. And Saturday at the stadium was no different.
No, what a show. What
a show. Hey, big shout out to Tigerberg School for their performance, that choreography. Wow. Before the anthems and during the anthem was something to behold. I know you were looking through one eye at that point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was hosting, and the hosting takes a lot out of you. Yeah. But I had a great time, and I did catch half of their choreography. Amazing, the plane that flew over twice, Sapphire, fantastic. Though some people would say the 380s are much more impressive planes, so maybe Joburg outdid us there, but it was still wonderful.
Well, I don't think that plane got any
lower.
Closer. Yeah, wow. I mean,
it was. I felt the breeze.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple things. One, I make a prediction, and that's the headline. But for the millennials and Zoomers out there, never go full retard. And we've said that before, and we'll show it to you again.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard. You don't buy that? That's Sean Penn, 2001, I am Sam. Remember? Went full retard. Went home empty-handed.
Never just read the headline and think that that's all there is to the story, You've got to have a bit of delayed gratification in life. And certainly the same applies when you're watching our show. I told people, I'll put $1,000 on the box, on the All Blacks, and I hope I lose. I'll gladly pay 1,000 rand to see the buck win and spoil my bet. But what I did do, and what I did say, was that my big bet would be lumping on the points under 50 and a half, meaning that anything below 50, and I'm cashing in big time. And boy, I was never worried for 1 minute with that bet. Cruised home.
Yeah.
So folks out there, never go full retard. That's my only advice to you. Mm. And if you haven't watched Tropical Thunder, give it a watch. You'll fully understand. Great movie. But let's get into it.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the attitude of people that are so negative at times. That the Boks played shit. They did this. They didn't do that. I mean, this is a body of work now that's been going on with Rassie for 6 years. They've won 2 World Cups. They've beaten the All Blacks 6 out of 8 times. 4 in a row.
Never been done before.
Rarefied air, to say the least. And it's still not good enough.
Yeah.
That's Stadler and Waldorf. I mean, I only see those 2 guys when people are whinging about something they should be celebrating. Mm. And when you don't learn to celebrate life's tough enough. When people say you're happy, I'm never happy. I have moments of joy. And Saturday was a moment of joy for South Africans. The previous Saturday was a moment of joy. The World Cup final was a moment of joy. Enjoy these moments of joy. Please, for God's sakes, I beg of you. Otherwise, you're never going to get out alive. So let's start with, I did say that I felt that the team wasn't the
You didn't like the team, did you?
No, I didn't. I felt it was too conservative. And maybe, again, with Rassie, he was trying to prove a point. That as to why he made those selections in the first game was to show people that that were, because there was people against that selection as well 2 weeks ago, or two Saturdays ago, and to me, the team that was picked that day with Pollard, I don't think Pollard played particularly well. He's certainly capable of better things. Really wasn't impressed. So you can
see him nodding here. Yeah.
I can see where he's going with this team, and the fact that the Boks won again, amping it up a level, which is very much reminiscent of the All Blacks teams of old, is they always had another gear. And I get that I get the feeling that this Springbok team has many gears.
Yeah, and also they have immense composure in tough moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no more so articulated in quarterfinal, semi-final, final, where, we're going down to the final seconds when the result and the outcome is a positive one.
And the character that those games have given players.
You build resilience, and that's the thing. This is a resilient side. And yes, there's no continuity in the selection because, he is demanding so much of the squad, not only key members of the squad. He wants to see what is the level of depth, what is the level of resilience and resolve that I have, the minerals, as they say, in big game moments with big game players, to underscore there shall be no complacency.
No.
It shouldn't be long in the Bok camp. Yeah. And that's great, because Saturday was another illustration of where I disagree in some sense with Pollard. I thought he played reasonably well, did what he had to do.
Yeah.
Willie can be a mistakes machine at times. Mistakes machine. And Saturday was one of those times.
Yeah.
And I bet you a pound to a pinch of shit that when it comes to a 2-on-1 situation, 100% of the time, all of the time, he is going for that intercept.
Yeah.
Fool you. If you've seen enough tape of the Boks to know in those situations.
Yeah.
He is going for the ball.
Yeah.
And that was a clear yellow card. And it probably just epitomized his day in the office,
Well, this is it. The people go to work every day, and I beg any of you out there that go to work to say that you've put in 100% shift every day. It doesn't happen. And at that level, especially against the All Blacks, you're going to have bad days and you're going to have good days.
Yeah.
It just seems we live in a world where people just remember the bad days. Because to me, the person probably clocked in the worst performance was Bongi. But but he has checked in and put in enormous games. And this is, I guess if we have any message today in the podcast, is to people to get over themselves and just put things in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, Bongi
we are taking sport too serious now. We get really hung up on it. Even your daughter and your niece were like disgusted in the first 20 minutes about walking around the stadium, shaking their heads about they're not playing well enough.
Yeah.
And we get it. But there's still time on the clock.
Yeah. Still 60 minutes. Look, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, as they say. But she went home smiling.
There's a younger generation now that just are crushing on Sasha and Eben and all the good-looking guys in the Boks. So,
my daughter is Andrea.
Is it? Yeah. And and the Boks are great at that. After the game, they circulate through the stadium. They make themselves available to the crowd for photographs and such. So that's another characteristic that I do like. From the Springboks. Vintage. Yeah,
and guys like Sia that go in and pose and get the selfies or the ussies or whatever they're called. Yeah. Those things are massive. That attaches the audience. I mean,
of course it does. It creates connection, and also through humility, because the guys are taking time out. At the end of the game, when you are absolutely blown off your feet, you kind of just want to have a quiet, reflective moment, cold shower or cold bath or whatever they do these days.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they do spend time. They know that connection with the supporters is key to them.
And that's where I think that a person like C has been immense for the Boks, because he leads by example. If you have a more conservative captain, let's say you're the captain of that team, and you and I mean no disrespect. I know
No.
you're a very private guy, and that's not you.
No.
So can you imagine that now if you're the captain of the Bok team, we've given you a South African citizenship, and you're 20 years younger, and you're the captain. The way that you lead would be different from Asia. So when you look at what is great for the Boks and the attachment and the camaraderie, where the Boks are the national team of South Africa, and when you think about Bafana should be, and they're nowhere. Though I must say that with Patrice Motsepe becoming the African president, South Africa did win a bronze medal at the what is it called?
The CONCACAF games was that
I don't.
guess?
Well,
No.
I don't even know what it's called, but they did perform well. So hopefully we start seeing that in our other teams, our national teams like Bafana. But when you see what Sia does, leads by example. He's in there. He's just played 60, 80 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever he's played. He still goes into the crowd and engage. And you know, as an ex-player, what that is like. I must say, it's always easier when you're winning, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. But he doesn't ask anything that he doesn't do himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he exudes not only the passion of what rugby is all about.
Yeah.
You see that written in his tears. But the level of leadership goes beyond his ambassadorial self, out in South Africa and outside of it. It's just leadership on the field. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And he had a good
speaks-
game. He played well. Lovely try.
Yeah,
Tackled well.
he and Peter Steff, to some degree, were leading the kind of gain line toll.
And even.
Yeah, of course they were. And I mean, there's lots of examples, but perhaps they will be a little bit disappointed at how much of a neglect they did for ball protection. Because they give up a few steals.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
that's-
when we were driving in this morning, we were listening to Poor Razor, and he was asked some pretty stupid questions by the press. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd look at you and say, how do you answer that question?
Yeah.
But, he talks about moments of mistakes. And that's great. And I know the All Blacks made mistakes. But equally, so did the Springboks.
Oh, well, if you summarize the game, I think the fact is there was so much offensive intent from the get-go that everybody lost their composure in those kind of close quarter battles where everyone was playing the high percentage offload game and we're not protecting the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what caused this hysteria, really, because
Yeah.
both sides had plenty of moments to kill the opposition off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's crazy when you have it always comes down to moments of mistakes and who takes advantage of those mistakes more at this level, I believe. And the Boks again had the better exchange in that. But there's no doubt in my mind. There's two teams in the world, I believe, that are just a step ahead, and it's the All Blacks and the Springboks,
Yeah.
and not in that order.
No, you're not going to mention Ireland, but okay. I think the All Blacks are in great
I
shape.
don't feel I needed to mention them.
I think the All Blacks are in better shape than most people think. I really do.
After this series, I agree with
Yeah.
you. I didn't before the series
Now
started.
they do struggle with this impact off the bench
Yeah,
because it's exponentially different when you have someone like Vincent Koch came on, and again, high level of production, carried the ball well, bump and shove. Elrich Rowe, the same. Quacha, we've just come to understand that this guy's super sub comes on and makes big moments happen.
yeah. I would say he's a better super sub than Bobby Skinstead ever was. Why are you laughing, Scotty?
I was trying to find a funny quip there, but it didn't quite come to me.
Okay.
So that's where Razor has to develop now. Not only to carry on this kind of development of the way that they're playing, which I think they're heading in the right direction. I think he'd be quietly comfortable behind closed doors. Disappointed, yes, with both results and how they didn't have the armory to finish off the game whilst they were in the driving seat in Johannesburg, and also conceded on Saturday to some degree. Missing a goal at international rugby is just a no-no, and they just left too many points.
No, they're 3 from 7 in their kicking.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats. I couldn't find the stats. But,
Or 4 from 7, I think they were.
Kickable kicks that would have just put them, kept them.
Scoreboard pressure.
Yeah. And it's all about building that. And, of course, when you have someone like Malcolm Marx coming on, you know that when he just oozes charisma and, he's expressionless at times.
He's the good-looking version of the Hulk Hogan.
The Hulkamaniac, New York City, and the largest arms in the world, brother.
But, you see him come on and there's always like a relief because you know that he's just going to put a shift in.
Yeah.
And there's very little error in his game. And there's high levels of production. So when you are in the red zone, there's 85% chance that you're going to come away with a score. Yeah. And that's what happened. That's what created separation. The Boks will be disappointed given that they had, we saw more fluidity. There was a kind of great ambition about putting some width on the ball. Damien Delende, again, imperious.
Oh, what a shift he put in.
Imperious in attack and in defence.
Yeah.
He has this beautiful stop step, which in international rugby, you have to kind of watch it and kind of isolate some of his positional plays. Because in the heat of the moment when the ball is, you're advancing with the ball, he has this ability to just stop step, and then just get on the outside. He squares his shoulders, and what he does, he just converts a 3-on-2 to a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Makes it easier for the outside guys. Unfortunately, those on the outside, the beneficiaries, haven't really closed it out for him to complement the play.
Yes.
The scheme. So, deserving of the man of the match again, totally unassuming, goes about his business and just delivers week in, week out, and you need guys like that, Mr. Dependables.
And you need to understand the game to appreciate it because, I played my rugby as a forward, and then it was just before the World Cup, the 2019 World Cup, when I asked you what you thought of him, and I thought that you were going to have my opinion. And you're the one that taught me about the impact that he has as an inside center, the step, how he squares his shoulders, all this other nuances that I didn't fully appreciate.
I mean, midfield play is all about shoulders and feet positioning. Feet positioning in not only in attack, so whether you're running on an unders ball or a straight ball or on a fade ball, on the overs ball, there is, so there's 4 small little nuances now in attack, but it's almost the same in defense.
Yeah.
Because you need to protect your inside shoulder about like 3 or 4 different running lines potentially when you scour the attacking system and you look at it. Where are the threats in my zone? And they can come from obviously, out to in, from the open side on a short ball. So you just there's so much coverage there.
Yeah.
And I think he and Creel do a great job in that midfield.
So the All Blacks head back, and the Boks. Where's the next game? The Boks in Argentina, or is it here? Is it Argentina?
No, they go to Argentina. Yeah. I think Rassie's already said that they'll recover this week, and then they'll put together a separate squad that's going to travel to Argentina. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting squad to see. When you consider what happened with Australia now. I was watching that game, and Australia were up 20-3, and it was like, my God, maybe the Wallabies aren't as bad as I've been thinking they are. But sure as nuts. Second half, 50 points conceded. They what'd they end up beating? 67-27.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm Joe Schmidt, I'm like, why in God's name have I taken this job?
Yeah, it's a record points haul, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Joe Smith's now going to start to ask some deeper questions, not only about himself but also his support staff. have I got the right people around me?
Yeah.
And then he has to look at, obviously, the numbers and the pool of players that he is considering for next year, Because I think with, the Bledisloe Cup coming up, and then the autumn series for them, the players go back to Australia, they have a well-earned rest, but then they get back into a kind of, training program, physiological program. But that has to be totally focused on one thing, and that's the Lions series. Because in this current...
Is there any reason...
this current, guys,
Yeah.
getting pumped 67 points to 27 by the Argentinians,
Yeah.
it just... You kind of think the Lions are just going to go and do a clean sweep.
Well, but it was, when you look at it, it was in the last 50 minutes, Argentina put up 64 points. I mean, we're seeing unimaginable things happen to this Australian team. Now, that youngster we had on the show that was ranting, I haven't watched him this weekend, but I must go and give it a watch because I can only imagine. Or maybe he's just given up. Who knows? But I mean, we're seeing unimaginable things. Now, you asked me a good question in the drive into work today was, is there any need for, I mean, the British and Irish Lions are going to go there next year. And unless there's a metamorphosis that I can't see coming, the question after that tour is going to be, do we keep Australia as part of this British and Irish Lions
Well, I think there's
tour?
two things, because if there is an existential threat with Australia's rugby depth and their ability to show up and, put a good shift in, and be competitive and create a compelling test series. One, it weakens the British and Irish Lions brand to some degree, but also the question, as you say, maybe Argentina need to put their hand up and say, listen, why don't you come here? I think it was 113 years since the Lions last played Argentina. So, when we're talking about the higher levels of rugby, we're talking about elitism. That's what we want to see. This is what we saw, in the Irish Test match. This is what we've seen in the last couple of weekends. It has to be of the highest order. No one wants to go and see a Lions team go down under,
and wallop the other team.
Yeah.
There's no
because that under Farrell, they're going to be thrifty when it comes to giving up points, and they're going to be in phenomenal shape when it comes to their offensive ability.
And the one of the big parts of these tournaments, Scott, as we all know, is making money. Now, if you're a British and Irish Lions fan, would you pay to go to Australia to see the inevitable?
Well, yeah, that's it's an economic decision first and foremost. The excitement of obviously following the Lions tour is par excellence. It is
Yeah. But there's also, on every tour, the real threat of a Lions loss and a competitive series.
Well, that's right, yeah.
I don't see...
Something that you don't want to miss.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't see, and then we're 10 months out or 11 months out from this tour, I don't see any outcome other than the British and Irish Lions winning every single test and match that they play on tour on this one. I mean, 40
That's
points.
the way it's looking like now, Kev. You don't have to be too much of a rugby nerd to see that's a series clean sweep, almost pretty much guaranteed if it was happening now.
Yeah.
And we've seen the quasi implosion of the Super Pacific rugby franchises in Australia.
Yeah.
Of course, the Melbourne Rebels are no longer have a
Bankrupt.
license. Yeah, so the optics are not looking good. There has to be a viable PR campaign to, lift everybody's spirits in Australia.
But do you see it getting any better in the next after the bye week? You've got the Bledisloe
Well, that's
Cup.
the thing. These are hard turnarounds. They just don't happen. They don't happen in a 6-week, 8-week, 12-week window.
Yeah.
It's easier if you have. It's easier if you have a little bit of dysfunction in your defense. Easy, not the right word. It's not impossible to shore up a defense in a short period of time, because that is one mindset. It's all about communication.
Yeah.
But you got to get the right people providing the corporate messaging.
Yeah.
So it sinks in and you dial into it. the fact is, if you haven't got the bodies, if you haven't got the pieces or weapons, then, you can talk Swahili. They're not going to get it.
Well, and obviously Eddie Jones was talking Swahili because he was talking about winning the last World Cup. You just wonder. I mean, either he's a greater promoter than Don King, or because how do you even? I mean, we could go on about the Wallabies for a while, but
well, listen, I don't think it's about bashing the Wallabies because I have a huge amount of respect for Schmidt and his ability. He's probably just looking at the pool of talent going, this a little bit thin on the ground.
Look, it's comical. That's why I'm having a bit of a laugh. But I certainly respect Australian history in rugby and some of the great players and greatest players of the game that have come out of that area. But when you look at it, you just see a talent pool that rugby needs to we're missing Australia.
Well, that's right. The World Rugby is missing a totally identifiable Wallaby rugby union side.
Yeah.
And sadly, they're just being usurped by the AFL and the NRL at the moment, who are both coming to the end of their season. There's playoff football now in Australia. Everybody's going to be engrossed for the next couple of weeks about whoever their teams are, in the top 6.
Yeah.
We're getting to the playoffs. There'll be a level of excitement and fervour in Australia because of the NRL. And of course, no eyeballs are going to be on the Bledisloe Cup, or very little eyeballs.
Yep. And I hope for the Wallabies' sake that New Zealand put in the shift that people put in when they're playing the opponent that they are. People tend to play down a lot when you're playing a team that's not as You tend to underestimate them, and then you get these close matches. But I don't see any close matches.
No, and I suppose, unfortunately, for someone like Schmidt now, who will be meticulous in his planning and his foresight about how do we engineer the time off and the build-up to the Lions squad. Unfortunately, obviously, they come to the UK now for 3 test matches in November, which they could probably do without, because that might be further embarrassment. Just to, rest, identify, and then keep developing.
Yep, there's a rebuild that's going to need to be taken seriously there in Australia.
And I dare say the rebuild now, and its primary focus will be the World Cup, rather than the Lions tour, because the Lions tour will be around the corner, and it'll be way too early for them to make systematic changes. Structural changes, not only in the Australian Rugby Union, but in the franchises and also in the player development positions.
Yeah, I agree, Scott. It's sad, really. It's we can laugh. I can laugh about it all I want.
I suppose that the sadness does lie because even after the Ireland test matches, we were saying, "Oh my God, we've just been blessed with 1 and 2 going at it."
Yeah,
and then the opportunity looking forward against having a true measure as to where the Boks are facing the All Blacks, and where the All Blacks are is that we kind of need to have 6 or 8 of the best teams on the planet really at a higher level than they are.
Yes. Look, it's
and unfortunately that's just natural science. There's more talent coming through South Africa, as we know, than any of the other nations.
Yeah.
Or so it may seem. But it does come down to player development, player coaching, and I think that's why Rassie is head and shoulders above some of his other peers.
Yes.
And I can see that maybe after the next World Cup he goes into that more developmental role with coaches and so on, because when you have a dearth of talent like South Africa has, too many getting lost in the net because they haven't been mentored in the right way, or haven't been guided, or haven't got the right support when it comes to, skills or strength and conditioning and such. So, the future is looking bright for South Africa, but we need all the other nations to really pick up their socks now. Because
I wouldn't be unhappy with the Springboks enjoying a quarter century of success. with well-stocked teams, but
wouldn't that be just demonstrative of the structure here? The school structure, again, is steeped in heritage and a history that is solid. Continually just spews out great numbers of talent that go into varsity football, get converted into professional athletes.
If you could put a conveyor belt on steroids, I would say that that's what South Africa has, is a steroid-infused conveyor belt of talent, rugby talent.
Yeah, I'd use the word steroid loosely there.
Well, I did. I mean, but, who knows? I might be cancelled. So, Scott, you've been here 3 months. We've watched so much rugby. We've had such a great time. Met us, took you out to see Paul Gem versus Paul Boys.
Yeah, I'm always just amazed by the level of excitement about rugby in South Africa. And I question, because I'll return to the UK, and we kind of think ourselves in the UK like that we're sports mad, and take Premiership soccer out of the equation.
Yeah.
Cricket is something to be enjoyed by a certain fan base.
Yeah.
That's more cerebral and relaxing.
Yeah.
Rugby is obviously a very impactful game. There's lots of energy. There's lots of movement. There's lots of excitement. But it's over in 90 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think what I've learned again about rugby in South Africa is the insatiable appetite for it. Absolutely ravenous. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's something special.
No, it is, and I was quite emotional on that first test up in Pretoria, just with the build-up. And as a former player, it's the only time I get excited now is when I do watch the box, because you just see it.
Yeah.
You see it, you feel it, it's in the air. I mean, it permeates around you when you're with box supporters and that. So I think they put on a great show this winter, the South Africa, the SARu,
Supersport.
Supersport, and another great broadcasting team getting better. So, every partner is pulling its weight.
It seems that way, yeah.
And I think that's testament to, the success that the Boks have rightly so deserved. And they just got to keep pushing the ceiling,
Yeah. And how do you see them, just quickly, Argentina versus South Africa? What do you see there?
Well, I think a different proposition now. I don't think the intensity will fall off. But, I mean, listen, if they get tripped up in Argentina because Argentina are on a roll and they found something special, because that they have their own inimitable style and energy. That when they get their hands on your throat, they do not give up until you surrender.
Well, both Australia and New Zealand can attest to that.
Yeah.
So there would be no shame in losing in one of these games.
No, that's right. Yeah, listen, I mean, maybe the object from the start of the year was to go unbeaten this year. But listen, I loved Rassie after the first test. He was quite adamant that, listen, if we drop a game, we drop a game. We're not going to be. There's no panic mode here. Yeah. He is looking beyond the 23, beyond the 35-man squad that he assembled. He's looking at 50 players, and he's gonna give everyone an opportunity to impress, and that's a great thing, because that does not, that will then not create any type of complacency in the squad.
Yeah,
because there's players that need to have. I think there's players need to rest a little bit. Some of the key members of the Boks squad we've seen over the winter now need to rest up. Yeah, and and then you can shape the future, the next 2 years, 2.5 years of what Rassie could be looking at down the stretch.
Yeah, and look, I've just been thinking while we've been chatting that I should have not excluded Ireland from that elite three. It's them. It's the Boks, Ireland on their showing, and New Zealand. They're cut above. To Irish fans, sorry.
They are the top tier. And I'm not, please understand, this is not distinguishing tier 1 and tier 2 nations.
No.
Because we're talking about Georgia and tier 2 and Portugal and so on and so on. Top tier is only 3 sides.
Yeah.
And then the second tier, I would put England and France in, and then the rest of the world.
Yeah,
because
Wales, Japan, Australia.
So the good thing, I'm returning tomorrow. It'll give me an opportunity to see the early parts of the URC now, see who's maybe in contention for international status.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing we saw that Glasgow lifted the trophy in Pretoria.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys will be in the Scottish squad. So they're not free.
And also the last three finals have all been in South Africa, haven't they?
Don't know. Well,
It was Pretoria last year. It was Cape Town Stadium the year before, and Cape Town Stadium the year before that.
Yeah.
So those players for Scotland that play internationally for Scotland, it also gives them a hell of a lot of experience.
Well, and they'll be focused on the autumn now.
Yes.
Obviously, England are in better shape than they've been for a long time. Again, consistent messaging. The same with Scotland. Had a easier winter than most of the Northern Hemisphere,
Yes.
but got to see more of the depth. But they'll be certainly sharp come November time.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that Wales have, I think, about 14, 15 players returning, frontline players returning. So they're going to be mightily competitive with their last game against South Africa at the Principality Stadium. So still a lot of rugby to go.
Yeah, we want competitive games. I mean, you look at the last two games and the excitement and the drama that it created for millions of fans here.
And I guess what I'm trying to allude to is that I would like to see Rassie now go even deeper into his ideology as to where he wants the Springboks to go and some of the players that we may not be speaking of. Because it is time to rest a few tired bodies, I think, just for preservation. Given that the biggest two challenges this year were always going to be Ireland and the All Blacks. Argentina, back-to-back games, and then there's circa 4 or 5 weeks of rest before they travel to the UK.
Yeah.
And, the UK weather will be something that they have to contend with. And from an international point of view, these guys, natural fatigue will come in because, God, we've got to get ourselves up for this game again,
Yeah, especially after four
So,
games.
maybe the Boks will drop a game in UK, but it's not the end of the world.
No, the world will not come crashing down if we lose again.
No.
We've won, and I think that again, just to reiterate the theme of this, if we look at a theme for this thing, it's to celebrate the joyous moments that we have.
Well, that's right. And this potentially is the first rugby championship they've won since 2009. Keogh always talks about 2009 being a great vintage.
A watershed. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, they're set in a new paradigm for their own performance, their own personalities and the notoriety that comes with that. And of course, we're witnessing part of history. And some of the best have ever represented the Springboks.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest ambassadors that we will ever see going forward. So
one of them, definitely the most connected Springbok team to the audience.
Yes.
And inclusive of everybody.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Scotty, it's been great having you here for 3 months. We will be doing a Six Nations show.
I think we
to help with betters and help.
We will be. Yeah, as I said, I'll go away and get my head around what the autumn looks like from a rugby perspective. See how Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England are taking shape. I dare say we'll do something during the autumn, but we will certainly be having a Six Nations soiree together.
Well, let's hope that I'm invited over and we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it live. It should be fun. Okay.
Anything's possible.
Well, there you go. Scott, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Buy a donkey, Minia.
Let's see you. Or whatever it's called. I don't know. Anyway, Scotty, thanks, and look forward to chatting to you in the autumn. Cheers, bud.